Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We're back with another In Context. Today is October 19th. The topic obviously is the post-massacre strategic horizon of what the U.S. is looking at to do to the Middle East post the massacre. I think a good place to start would be Trump's private meeting that he had um, and who attended the meeting, and that would kind of set us up to have this discussion.
Sure. Fine. So the entry point is what the evil empire, as the organizing power of the international colonial order, wants to do. That's why we are addressing Trump's private party in China. But the full context actually is the world is not just the evil empire. There are other colonial powers. There are other powers that are trying to create space for themselves, and there are us, their food. So we have to look at the full picture. First, let's start with the Orange Emperor's private party. So the Orange Emperor held a private party in Sharm el-Sheikh. It was very interesting that while Sharm el-Sheikh is officially part of the colony of Egypt, the invitations to the party were issued by the White House, which is weird. It even violates the show of nation state. The order, the imperial order is, bursting at the seams. Anyway, things to observe is while the emperor wanted to make it look like an expansion of his ludicrous Abrahamic deals, actually his local clients resisted that. So the emperor tried to cheat as usual and inject Netanyahu into the meeting at the last minute to claim that here is another achievement. I have advanced the Abrahamic agreements further, another step. I have stepped on these lowly, humiliated and stepped on these lowly subjects another time. But he was checked by Turkey. Obviously, the local governor Sisi was quite happy to agree and to issue an on-the-spot invitation for Netanyahu. Turkey refused because they said, well, this is not the agreement. You are forcing something that we didn't agree on, and he had to relent. That is a side show. But it describes here that there is some tension between the Orange Order and its local minions. There is even more tension between the Orange Order and the Arab Zionist camp.
So I want to intro real quick. So when you say sideshow, do you think, yes, it may be a sideshow, but do you think also that since they're putting him in check and didn't allow the visit, there's some level of integrity that Turkey has that other Arab leaders don't have, where they don't let everything pass?
Well, actually, even although Qatar is a client state and Turkey plays for keeps. In a previous incident, Turkey and Qatar played a duo against the Biden administration. When the Biden administration tried to force Hamas out of Doha, they actually countered their bluff effectively. So they essentially told the Biden administration, fine, okay, you don't want them in Doha, we'll move them to Turkey. And suddenly they discovered that, Blinken discovered that he has no problem with Hamas continuing in Doha. So even, the traditional client regimes are in this to stay in power. So they are always trying to mediate between the imperial order and its demands on the local population and between the local population. And they do get it that some demands of the imperial order are too much and could blow up in their face. So they push back. Okay. So it's not just that the fact that Turkey is a stronger player than, say, Qatar, but also even the traditional client regimes figure out that if they can mediate and stay in power successfully, or to be able to mediate and stay in power successfully, they have to rationalize the emperor's demands. The emperor thinks that he can get whatever he wants, and the emperor actually thinks that he can make all kinds of demands, and if nobody says no, then it will stick. So make all kinds of crazy demands until people tell you, well, we couldn't do it. That's how this this bull behaves. I mean, Trump. But the interesting piece actually was the response of the Arab Zionist bloc. So the Arab Zionist bloc, before Israel launched war on the Middle East, was in complete tandem and complete alliance with Israel. It would have seemed conceivable that the Arab Zionist bloc may have had second thoughts, given that Israel is launching war on all of the Middle East. But it appears that at least the core group, that is the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and their lackey, the Emperor of Bahrain, are steadfast in their alliance with Israel. So they first made clear their displeasure with the fact that the traditional wing of the colonial order, that is Qatar and Turkey, is in ascendance within the court of the empire by not showing up. So Mohammed Salman did not show up and sent his foreign minister. Mohammed Zayed actually went farther than just not showing up. He sent a lower level official, his youngest brother and chief of his staff, to represent him. But then the Israeli media, which is usually untrustworthy, reports that the core group, that is Mohammed Zayed, Mohammed Salman, and their lackey Mohammed, have threatened the US that they are not going to pay for its projects in Gaza unless the US enforces the complete surrender of the resistance in Gaza. This is what Netanyahu has been trying to get, and what the Trump managed actually to dissuade him from. So they are asking for what Netanyahu couldn't get, which is super crazy, because the way Israel negotiates is, they move forward, they ask for more than what the starting point is. So if you give them all what they want at the starting point, they will end up with them taking over Amman and Beirut. When Trump pushes back on Netanyahu's demands, it isn't because he doesn't want to give Israel more. It's because he wants to, in the end, get to something that is manageable. And, giving in to all Israel's demands means that it's going to ask for more and more and more. So you have to stop them at some point. But the Arab Zionists are outdoing Trump in being Zionist, which is really, really strange. That aside, this is how things stand. More interesting question is, so where does that take us in the future? Anything further we should address on where we stand today? Yes, one thing I missed is the other wing of the Arab Zionist camp. So the Arab Zionist camp is actually currently made of two wings: the core group that I mentioned, and Egypt and Jordan, Morocco too. But Morocco doesn't have to show its cards. But Egypt and Jordan have seem to be going along with Trump's design and to break formation with the core group. I think that is not a complete break. It is more that Egypt and Jordan are trying to manage their relationship with the US because they can't say no to the emperor. They'd like to keep a foot in both camps. And also that there is a difference in their calculations of profit and loss than the core Arab Zionist group. So Egypt and Jordan are under direct threat from the current designs of Israel. If Israel manages to expel the people of Gaza, it will be into Egypt. And if it manages to do any of that, then tomorrow it will do it to even more to the West Bank, into Jordan. So those guys are directly scared for themselves. And I think that the US is feeding these fears in them. The evidence to this is the reversal in Egypt's, the Egyptian regime stance about the expulsion of the people of Gaza. So first they were willing to do it as long as they are paid well. And then within a week, they reversed in the spring of 2024, they reversed position. And I think that was because the US was advising them that this is dangerous for you. Anyway, that said, those guys are still Arab Zionists, and they are closer to Israel than they are to a mediation position, the traditional mediation position between the population and the imperial order, meaning they fear the population more than than Israel. Fine. So I think with that we have covered the current scene, and we may start looking at the future. Any questions?
Yeah, so with that, I mean, with the current scene also, we see that, as you said at the beginning, that the U.S. is not concerned with them completely stop killing. I mean, they kill here and there, but as long as it's manageable in their eyes. But they're still on the side, they're bombing Lebanon, right, on one end. Um, and don't you think that these governments, even though they're Arab Zionists, at some point fear the reaction of the population, that they will not tolerate such things, and that this can make them have them lose complete trust, or have the people lose complete trust in them and refuse this? Or do you think that everyone's playing according to plan?
The Arab Zionists have crossed the point of fearing the population and trying to gain its trust. They fear the population and are in the position of open war at the other population. The distinction between the traditional client regimes and the Arab Zionist regimes is the following. The traditional regimes want to maintain their position as mediators, meaning we're going to keep the population quiet, we're going to guarantee the imperial order interests, and we're going to get paid for that. But the Arab Zionist camp is in the position of this is not tenable, this population is dangerous, and the only way we can maintain our position and our privileges is to wage war on them. And that requires alliance with Israel, because Israel is a trustworthy enemy of the population. So they are not in the position of what if the people realize that we are Asians? That will be dangerous. They are beyond that. They are in the position of those people have to be subdued with force. And the only way we can muster enough force to subdue them, wage war on them, is to ally ourselves with Israel, because the US is not going to come fight for us. So we need someone to come fight for us, Israel. The Arab Zionist regime are in this position. That's why today, after all Israel did, they are, outbidding Netanyahu. Netanyahu accepted. Actually, what Netanyahu accepted in this deal is the resistance is not going to surrender weapons. And all he ever can get is the US is going to allow him to use force here and use force there to negotiate something or to contain it. That's all. The truth is, regardless of all these promises about, well, there is a 20-point nonsense and all of that garbage, the truth is what has been agreed is the resistance is not surrendering weapons. He is not enforcing his peace on them. This business of they are going to introduce a Muslim soldier force to do Israel's dirty work in Gaza is nonsense, because nobody is going to come fight for Israel and get hit from both sides. They don't trust Israel, not to Hitler as well. Okay, so they will be hit from both sides, and the only way they are going to be willing to do this is if the United Nations issues them a new authorization to enter Gaza. And that is not acceptable to Israel, by the way, because that would mean they are not colonizing Gaza anymore. It would have meant that the October 7th has succeeded, indeed. So that is not on offer. Okay. So all what this boils down to is what you're seeing today. Israel attacks. The US says, well, as long as the attack is not sustained, we're fine. It's okay. Let them play. It's okay. Peace is still existing. Well, they killed 35. That's fine. It's okay. No problem. As long as they don't go to 100 every day and it's sustained war, it's okay. Actually, they are going to open the Rafah crossing tomorrow, so that's fine. Okay. They actually asked the US for permission before killing, so that's fine. That I'm being sarcastic, but these are actually statements from US officials. So, but what that means is Netanyahu failed, and the Mohammed Zayed and Mohammed Salman are outbidding Netanyahu.
So when you say failed in what he wanted to accomplish in these past couple years?
Netanyahu failed because his target was always to subdue Gaza. And his only path to subdue Gaza is to allow an international force to control it. under UN mandate. That would mean his colonization of Gaza is at an end because he has failed to subdue it militarily. Now he is accepting that his only option is this. Otherwise, the other recourse is he keeps killing occasionally here and there,
Yeah.
like what he's doing in Lebanon, harassment.
So would this be seen as a success for the resistance?
People not see it like that because they will see that the price has been very heavy. But what we're trying to do right now is to forecast the strategic horizon. So the strategic horizon right now is deep instability in the Arab region. The US thinks that it can stabilize it by creating a system where Israel has the right to hit and attack everywhere in the Middle East whenever it feels like, without going into sustained war, whether it's the West Bank, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Iran, Yemen. Tomorrow it could be Libya or Tunisia, by the way, provided that it doesn't go into open war. And the reason is if it goes into open war, that's a major international configuration, and it would have to draw the US attention for more important things. In the US strategic assessment, the Middle East is backwaters. This may come as news to those who read the news in Arabic because they think that the Middle East is the center of the world. I have news for them. The Middle East has not been the center of the world for the last 35 years. Now, the last time it was the center of the world was the US waging war on the Gulf in 1991. Okay. Since then, it has been just backwaters because, as far as the US is concerned, nothing happens in the Middle East that the US doesn't approve of or like. Politically, militarily, there is no serious challenges to it. Iran is not trying to challenge the US, it's just trying to exist, no matter what Western media says. Turkey is not trying to challenge the US, it's trying to carve a sphere for itself within the empire that is not directly opposed to the empire. And Israel is literally, Trump today called it proxy for the empire. So there are no military threats to the empire. There are no economic threats to the empire. Whatever it wants, it gets either directly through political threats or military threats or economic threats. And what it fears, what is strategically important to it, is the challenge of China and the potential challenge of Europe. So the Middle East is backwaters. It doesn't want to spend time, effort, and money on it. You could have seen that very clearly in 2011. The whole system almost collapsed, and the US wasn't moved to reinvest in it because they think, well, this is contained, self-contained. They will kill each other, and eventually, whoever takes over is only those we approve of. So it's okay. So I have news for those who think that the Middle East is the center of the world. It isn't. Wake up. The US thinks that the only, however, mistake in the US assessment is they think this is sustainable, meaning having Israel as a local subcontractor who does whatever they want within limits of not going into open war is not sustainable because these regimes themselves are eroding, and the political establishments those regimes run are depleted, meaning if these regimes fall, there are no replacements. In previous times, the agent environment was rich enough that there was competition between different agents over who would serve the empire. Right now, the cadre of agents is quite thin. So any of these colonies that fails, as you would observe, for example, in Somalia, as you would observe in Iraq, it cannot be recreated. That is good news for us. It means that we have maybe 20 miserable years in front of us. But I don't think the way out of the imperial jail is ever going to be rosy. The last point I'd like to make is the difference between the Middle East before October 7 and between the Middle East today is the naked aggression of Israel, the collusion of the Arab Zionists with Israel, and the complete worthlessness of the traditional regimes are quite obvious. So the old regimes have no legitimacy anymore, and the people realize that Israel is a personal threat to them. I mean, the people not in just Palestine, everywhere, because they can see that Israel can hit them tomorrow if they feel like it. And obviously, the US is not going to prevent them. Actually, it's going to sponsor them and say they are justified. And the local regimes cannot protect them. The most miserable joke is after the Israeli allowed attack on Doha, and Trump's signing of a new agreement to supersede the old agreement of American protection of Qatar that did exactly nothing. He is offering Saudi Arabia a new and improved agreement to protect Saudi Arabia from Israel that was worth exactly nothing when Israel attacked Qatar through Saudi Arabia. It's if it wasn't so humiliating and miserable, it would be laughable.
But this is very important. Like there's a shift post October 7 and now, and it's more seen even amongst the common folks. Like it's more in the open. It's not secretive. It's not like something that they're used to disclose in the past to save face, but now it's more like this aggression is morely from the Arab Zionists is more open. But you never know where that if that may change or not in the future. But at the current, this is what's happening. I agree.
The nation state construct of this struggle has broken down. So when the US allowed Israel to or certified Israel as a subcontractor in the Middle East, it broke down the nation state construct of this, because now Israel is not an occupying force of Palestine. Israel is an occupying force of the Arab Middle East. For all I know, my hometown can be bombed tomorrow. Nothing would happen.
I think we got it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.